A boy who is 11 or 12 years old approached me when I got out of the tricycle on my way to my school. He was holding an empty ice cream cup with some coins in it. After I gave him the 5 peso coin change I got from the driver, 3 more same old boys approached me. This is a very disheartening experience, and it keeps on existing at present. The youth of the land who are supposed to be the hope of tomorrow are just around the corner, begging. In fact, some of them wander along the streets of the cities and towns sniffing rugby, and some are in factories, working. Does this mean that the asset of a growing nation becomes the country's greatest liability? Good heavens! What happened to the Filipino youth? Where are they heading for? How swift time flies. How fast the day goes by. Yet, the youth of the land are vulnerable targets and hostages to the consequences of the fast-changing world, of virtual reality, of the decadence of morality, and the onset of spiritual decay. As technological advancements mushroom, the Filipino youth is exposed to greater challenges, most of which uproot the solid foundation of values and virtues. The problems of juvenile delinquents are much related social problems. To survive in the street, you almost have to become delinquent. Exposed to criminal elements, these youth are vulnerable to prostitution, drug addiction, pushing and commission of crimes. Most of them have become juvenile delinquents either out of necessity, because they are poor, or because they are forced to do it. Young people in the streets are also criminalized and stigmatized for no of his crime committed. So many times the streets were cleaned up, many youth were jailed because of vagrants laws. Could there be a deterrence to all of this and eventually transform the Filipino youth into formidable forces in nation building? Yes. Despite the difficulties and failures of the moment, despite the trials and frustrations of the present, I still believe that one day, the youth of today will hear the challenge for a better Philippines and transform themselves as oases of abundance and responsibility, bringing this humble country to its most long glory. I think that we have a very strange juvenile populace at present, because they are deprived of opportunities to prove themselves. Given the best opportunities and wholehearted support, I believe that the Filipino youth have the power to make it happen. In their hands, indeed, lies the future of our country. They need not to be Manny Pacquiao in the boxing world. They need not to emulate Manny Pangilinan in the world of business. They need not to become Noy and Binay. They can make a very big difference by simply being themselves. It is my challenge to my fellow youth today to once and for all be an advocate of peace, to bridge, if not to totally resolve, the deafening cry for peace of our brothers and sisters who are experiencing wars, chaos, and violence in many areas of the archipelago. Bloodshed, displacement, and fear have become a familiar scenario in our country. The vicious cycle of violence had claimed thousands of lives, further insecurity, and human rights violation. The same holds true to our Muslim brothers and sisters, Christians, and indigenous people who are also victims of the war and violence in the affected areas, such as Maguindanao. However, to be realistic, we cannot hope to solve the conflicts of the country, prevent the wars of tomorrow, and ensure progress for perpetuity. This is no excuse for inaction. Today, the silent majority of the country consists of young people, and they remain silent because of the weight of apathy and ignorance. Our goal in peace building and the prevention and transformation of conflict and the building of culture of peace is to promote the active participation of youth in our society and nation. I seek to actively rectify and promote a healthy image of youth participation in public policy discussion and dispel the notion of youth apathy. I encourage young compatriots of our nation to cast off apathy and join our leaders. We have nothing to lose but our chains. We have a country to win. As a youth, I would like to speak to these questions even with the knowledge that my words can neither encompass nor illuminate the whole truth of the recent events. My prayer and intent is that this country may contribute in some measures to a healing wounded hearts, to a search for truth, and most of all, to a resolve for non-violent action. Violence and peace cannot coexist. We cannot prepare for war and expect peace. In my heart, I know that all people want peace, in spite of the seeming evidence to the contrary. After the humiliation the country got from the botched handling of the Manila hostage crisis, the only thing that keeps Filipinos afloat is their love for their nation and for their fellow Filipinos. There have to be new ways of solving problems. There has to be a way to solve age-old problems like poverty and environmental degradation. We cannot use the old solutions. We have to come up with new solutions. The definition of insanity is to do things over and over again and expect a different result. We should be a part of the change that the country needs. We will show this country that we, the youngsters, should be vital collaborators of nation building. I have no choice but to call the youth today. Prove a change that the country wants in us. Let this change begin in us. And let's shout to this nation that we are the new breed of Filipino, the heroes and heroines of the future.
Thank you, contestant number 4. You may step down.